On the topic of Vasilevskiy, okay, like we talked about all these storylines. Tampa could get 3 in a row. Here's this guy. Like his numbers are absolutely hilarious. Like they always post those elimination game numbers where he essentially is impossible to score on. If Tampa wins this cup, is Andrei Vasilevskiy? I mean, I'm not even going to say is he in the discussion for the best of all time because I think we're already there. If he wins this cup, is Andrei Vasilevskiy the greatest goalie of all time?
It's a great question. And I never watched, like Ken Dryden play or even some of these goalies back in like the 60s and 70s. Like, I don't know if you want to mention like
Johnny Bauer
and like Jacques Plante and like guys like that.
Different sport.
Yeah. Like I obviously, I mean, not just me, same thing with Lepore, same thing with probably a bunch of our listeners and viewers. Like you were probably not around to watch those guys play. And sure, you study the history of hockey. You understand their accomplishments, the cups that they've won. You can't even really look at their numbers.
Yeah.
Because it's just not the same game. Man, oh man. When you look at what Andrei Vasilevskiy has done, and you mentioned it, Lepore, his numbers in these elimination games, you're almost getting a shutout in an elimination game. For like he's almost averaging a shutout. Like he has like a 960 save percentage.
No, I think I saw something. It's either in game. What was the stat? In one of the stats, he's like 995 or something. His save percentage. Like you'd have in 1,000 shots, you'll score. I don't know if that's an elimination games or possible series clinching games or something. One of those ones. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It's just so insane. He's already got, I believe he has 2 Vezina trophies.
That sounds right.
I could be wrong. I should double check how many Vezinas he has, but
that doesn't matter.
You look at his stats, you look at the cups that he's won. If he wins his 3rd cup and wins a 2nd Conn Smythe trophy and has his Vezina trophies, which I'm in the process of checking right now.
In the Cap era, man.
So, sorry, he has 1. I don't know how he only has 1 Vezina trophy. So he only has 1 Vezina.
Oh, because they gave it to Fleury last year. That's why I remember that.
Yeah, that's true. Hellebuck won the year before that. I believe Hellebuck's was well-deserved, though, based on his
crazy
numbers.
year. How weird is that? Again, goalies, voodoo, and we'll get to that discussion in a little bit. Like Hellebuck won that feels like a million years ago.
Yeah. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, I mean, you just look at it. So he's got 1 Vezina. He's going to have 3 cups, probably 2 Conn Smythe trophies, unless Kucherov or Stamkos are able to win the Conn Smythe. He's right there, man. You know what? I'm going to say it. He's the best goalie of all time at that point.
Yeah.
And you could even make the argument that just based on like pure talent and the way that he plays, the way that the game is played now, that he's the most talented goalie of all time. And I know Hasek was incredible. I'm a big Dominic Hasek fan, and I would have him as the GOAT unless Vasilevsky's able to pull this off. But honestly, even if he doesn't win the Stanley Cup this year, honestly, man, I mean, he's only 28 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like his career's over by any means. Like, he
it's
still
just
has
how you look at it.
Some runway left to go here where he could like 100% cement himself as the GOAT. But yeah, I'm going to say, Lepore, if he wins this, I think he's the GOAT, man. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree. And it's funny how goaltendings work. Like, we go back, and for a while, like in my childhood, there were so many goalies who came out of Quebec. And then we kind of had this swarm of Swedish goalies. And then even like there was like the Americans, like, you had Jonathan Quick and all these other like Miller, like all these very strong American goalies. And now you're getting this Russian invasion. And with how good he's been for this span in a Cap era, if he gets 3 cups, 2 Conn Smythes, slide a Vezina in there, and who knows what he'll win going forward in his career, I'll put him there. Because like, again, like I said it a few minutes ago, you're getting plus 155 on Vasilevskiy. Do it. Like, just do it. And people may be surprised with what I'm about to say, and comment down below your opinions, because I know there's a lot of fans of these goalies, and I'm a huge fan of both of them before everyone starts going crazy. I've always kind of thought in Canadian hockey media, we've been kind of biased with goalies and how goalies are viewed. And I think if you go down the street and you ask anyone, say in that, I don't know, like 30 to 50 range of age, who saw them, from start to finish, saw the primes of their careers, I think if you asked who the best goalie of all time was, I think two very popular answers would be Juan Brodeur. A lot of people would say Juan Brodeur. And those goalies, based on what they did, totally deserve to be put in that conversation. 100%. They had the cups, they had the Vezinas. I mean, Brodeur's got his gold medal. So all that, Brodeur also won the World Cup. Like, and I'll listen to that argument that each of those goalies, or either of those goalies, is the greatest of all time. But the way I've always kind of looked at it is when you look at the data, when you look at their statistics, their save percentage, GAA, Dominik Hasek was bananas. If you look at that span of his prime, it's like a 4 or 5 year span. Hasek's save percentage did not make sense. I remember the big number was 1 year, and this was a higher scoring NHL. His GAA was under 2, and he was playing for the Sabres. Like it was a one-man show. I had Buffalo beaten Dallas in that Stanley Cup final in 99. In the history of the sport, I don't think there would have been an example of a goalie just straight up winning it for his team, like top to bottom. No disrespect to that Sabres team, and they were well coached by Lindy Ruff, but no. Like that team would have won because of Dominik Hasek. And I mean, people are already yelling about Patrick Roy winning those cups with the Canadians. Yeah, for sure. But I think like goaltending being equal, I think those Canadian teams beat that Buffalo Sabres team quite easily. And then to Brodeur, I mean, again, like I'm a huge Marty Brodeur fan, absolutely enormous Marty Brodeur fan. Dead puck era. The team played a certain system, defensive coach, Stevens and Niedermeyer in front of him.
A lot going for Brodeur there.
Yeah. And again, like the gold medals, whatever, like in your situation, you know, and that would help the argument that he is the greatest of all time. And it's not his fault for winning, but like with Canada, you're supposed to win. So I almost think people will be very quick to point to those two. And I think it's a Canadian bias. I really do. And again, I'm not saying I will not listen to an argument that either one of those guys is not the best, but I find sometimes we just kind of forget about Dominik Hasek. And I think had Vasilevskiy, I'm not going to say Vasilevskiy doesn't get the attention he deserves. You know what I am going to say? I don't think Vasilevskiy gets the attention he deserves. He doesn't get the love he deserves from the media. Had Marc-Andre Fleury done what Vasilevskiy has done, oh my God.
Oh, he'd already Price for that matter.
Oh, he'd already have the belt. Oh, Carey Price playing in Montreal, that market, he'd already have the belt. And that's just the way it is. Like, I mean, heck, if Matthews brings a cup to Toronto, people are going to be arguing that he's better than Gretzky. Like, let's just say how it is. But I just think Vasilevskiy, he's an alien. Like there's a saying in footy, like, you know, Ronaldo, there's really good players, and then there's Ronaldo and Messi because they're aliens. Vasilevsky's an alien. He is doing things like how I mentioned Hasek's save percentage when he was in his prime. These numbers that Vasilevskiy, these numbers he's putting up do not make sense when you compare it to the historical data of the sport. And what's so crazy to me is that there's a lot of luck in hockey, puck luck, bounces, all that. He's been in a lot of these elimination games. He's been in a lot of these series clinching games. You'd even think more would just like go in that he doesn't have a chance on, right? Like it's like, how have there not been more just like screenshots that pick the corner or gone off a knee or his own player or something? No, even with those, like there's something alien about this guy that you're not going to beat him. And I'm sure I mentioned our previous pod, when the Leafs were down going into the third period, I knew we were done.
Yeah, you're just terrified.
I was like, we have to score the cheesiest goal ever. Because I'm like, we're not going to beat him on a shot.
Yeah, you can't beat him on a clean shot. And what's funny is that Vasilevskiy throughout that first round series wasn't even that good. Like when you look at his numbers as a whole, like he had a save percentage under 900, I believe,
Bruno,
to finish that.
Why do you got to do this?
The Leafs outscored Tampa over the course of that series. Vasilevskiy had a save percentage under 900, and the Leafs still found a way to lose the series. Now,
why, Bruno? Because in the game 7, when it mattered, down by 1, we weren't going to get that goal.
When it mattered, Vasilevskiy completely shut the door. Game 6, game 7, like starting from the game 6 overtime into game 7, like he was essentially unbeatable.
I'd like to see his numbers. And I know you can't do this, but if you remove game 1, because we beat him for 5, like what was his
numbers don't look nearly as bad.
Yeah, he's over 900 for sure. And I mean, probably easily over 900, but I'll say, man,
just when you look at the size of Vasilevskiy, the athleticism, how good he is technically, you really said it, Lepore, he's an alien. I mean, how many times have we seen a goalie that big, that athletic, that technically sound? Like he's insane. And when he wants to shut the door, it's essentially game over. Now, I will say this, the one thing going in Hasek's way in the GOAT conversation, he's got 6 Vezina trophies.
Yeah, I know. People forget that. And doesn't he have?
And he has 2 Hart trophies.
I'll say, is it 2 or 3? I was going to say 2, and it was a 3. I think it was 2. Yeah.
So he has 6 Vezinas, 2 Hart trophies, and 2 cups.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's won the Conn Smythe, though, just based on my research now. Because I don't think he won the Conn Smythe.
He only got it in Detroit when those teams were stacked. It was like that team they just stacked. So he didn't get it.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard. It's damn hard to win 6 Vezina trophies. Like, I'm not gonna shit on that accomplishment whatsoever. Like, that is unbelievable.
Even those Hart trophies, I remember them being like slam dunks. Like, everyone knew, yeah, I don't know, Hasek's going to win the Hart trophy.
So maybe that's the only thing working against Vasilevskiy is that he doesn't have a Hart trophy. He doesn't have nearly as many Vezina trophies as Hasek, but I don't know, man. 3 cups, 2 Conn Smythes, the numbers in elimination games in the salary cap era. Man, oh man, it's very, very close. And I wouldn't, you can't argue at all, honestly. Like, you could lay out an argument for either side, and you honestly can't be mad at either side, whether you're arguing Vasilevskiy as the GOAT or Hasek as the GOAT. Now, this is all comes down to whether Vasilevskiy actually wins the cup or not this season. If he doesn't win the cup, I don't think we can put him in that conversation. But I think if he does win the cup, you could easily make an argument that he is the greatest goalie of all time. How about the Conn Smythe, Lepore?
I want to look it up though quickly with Vasilevskiy, because he was drafted in the first by Tampa. Yeah, he was drafted at 19, but I'm pretty sure Tampa picked somebody before him. Yeah, Slater Kokek.
So
if you want to know that if you need luck in drafting and all that stuff, at 10th overall, the Tampa Bay Lightning selected out of the Peterborough Pizza, the OHL, Slater Kokek. And then it was at 19. Andre,
I think it might be Slater Cuckoo. How you pronounce
that's that, you know what? When I hear it out loud, I'm like, yeah, it's Cuckoo, which is how I read it. So yeah, Lepore can't read.
And honestly, I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that they drafted Slater Cuckoo earlier in the first round, the same year they drafted Vasilevskiy. I would have told you were lying, but I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
And it actually happened. Oh my Lord.
What are the other bounces they got? So there's that one. They picked someone ahead of him. Even Lidstrom. Lidstrom was a second rounder. The Red Wings selected
he went like 52nd overall.
Mike
Sillinger,
Sillinger,
the greatest defenseman that ever lived.
Yeah, and then that's the argument I always make when people always used to argue about the Red Wings scouting. I say, well, no, they drafted Lidstrom in the second round, Sillinger in the first round. That means they thought Sillinger was better. Yeah. And then how Datsuk and Zetterberg fouled the rounds 5 and 7. It's like, well, they wouldn't have waited that long. Like, had they know what they had. And even with Tampa, was it Point was a late second rounder and like Kucherov was a third rounder, or was it the other way around? But
yeah, Kucherov was a second rounder and Point was a third rounder.
Yeah,
just absurd.